Hey, you guys, are you excited? I am. Guess who we're speaking to? Just guess. Guess who we're speaking to? Hmm? Anyways, when you come back, I'll introduce. Right? Okay. Okay.
To North and South America, Cuba and the Caribbeans, the Yoruba came in mass.
The Yoruba were a people who came from a thriving empire, an empire that had subject states, an empire that was well organized, well structured, well founded.
We had this song that has been sung in our palais since our ancestors came, and it said, "We are your children, my God, do not throw us away." For me, it's a very sad song because it reminds me of the pain of my ancestors.
Spirituality is embedded in human beings. The superstructure, what sort of manifests spirituality, is what we call religion.
Hundreds of years after their arrival to the New World, their culture might have survived it all.
So you guys, welcome. We're going to be speaking to the only only one. There's nobody else, just one. Mr. TOYIN Ibrahim ADEKEYE. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Yes, ADEKEYE. And of course, is a Nigerian born, Los Angeles based, our Americana across the border. And definitely the director of Bigger Than Africa. As in, if you have not watched this documentary, you need to go watch. You will be mind blown. And of course, even the documentary, I believe so far it has received awards.
Yes.
Like, you guys, you're sleeping. Wake up. Go and watch this documentary. But before you go and watch the documentary, just listen to the director, the brains behind the documentary, and listen and get to know him a little bit more. Welcome once again. Welcome
Thank
to Chat with
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we would definitely like to get to know you more, and on the basis of the documentary, which was your brainchild, I believe. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you very much, for having me and for the interest in Bigger Than Africa. I'm Nigerian, like you said, born and raised in Nigeria, and I live in LA now. I've been in LA for maybe like 20 years. I did cinema in LA, and I've been working in that industry for quite a bit, and
Wow, that's superb. So, Mr. LA, I've been there for 20 years. Did you go back home at all?
Of course. Oh, of course.
No, we have some people that travel and they're like, I'm never going back to that country.
Oh, no,
You're not one of those.
Oh no, I'm not one of those. I go home. I try to go home once a year. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So, of course, before this documentary came into light, I'm sure you've probably put your feet or your hands in so many other things. Would you like to let us know what those things were that maybe we just didn't hear of?
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in a couple of other things. I've done a lot of short films. Some I've actually gone to Cannes with a couple of my other friends in LA, whom I went to school with and work with and things like that. And I've also worked on a few other projects. I'm not, which I didn't direct and things like that.
Oh, okay.
You see my name in a few credits here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bigger Than Africa was my own first feature. That's mine.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Wow. First feature, and it went skyrocket. Wow, that's superb. That is great. But I'm sure because a lot of energy, time, resources was put behind this. right? So how, like, what made you think of putting such documentary together?
Well, just as I've said earlier, being born in and raised in Nigeria, and now living in the Western world, I'm sure we can all relate. Some of us that live out here can relate that when you get out here, you begin to appreciate home more than you actually do when you're there.
Yeah.
So things are not perfect, and that's not what I'm saying. But it's not perfect here either.
No,
So the idea of Bigger Than Africa came in my final year of film school. Then I wanted my thesis film to be something that kind of reflects my culture, but at the same time, telling it, making it a universal story, though. Something that everyone can relate to, irrespective of where you're from. So I started researching, and that was how I came across the Yoruba village in South Carolina.
Okay.
So, I went there with my crew that I assembled, and we arrived in South Carolina, and we see a sign that says, "Oh, you are now leaving North America to enter, Yoruba Kingdom," And the name of the village is Oyotunji, which we all know. Though for those of us that speaks Yoruba, we know what that means, and we know what Oyo Empire, stands for. It's one of the largest empire in West Africa before colonization. So when I see a village in North America, called Oyotunji, the awakening of Oyo, and knowing, what transpires in the transatlantic slave trade, So that just kind of blew my mind. And I was going to do a 7 to 15 minute short, actually, just for the thesis that year. So I changed my mind. So I told my crew, like, nah, we're not going to go ahead. We're going back to LA.
Wow.
And, they thought, like, are you serious? It's like, yeah, this is my culture, This is not a 15-minute, film.
Yes.
So I left it alone, and been doing other things. Actually, that year, the thesis that I did, I produced with another friend of mine. He's an American. Went to Cannes that year as well. I've ended up being the producer on it, and so I've done other things after that. I left it alone, but continued the research.
Okay.
And I extended the research into South America, the Caribbean, and back to West Africa. And I started shooting it maybe 4 or 5 years after I discovered the village.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't, start it right away. So it took a while before I started doing it, and we extended it, to 6 countries.
Yes. I was going to talk about it. One of my other questions was, how were you welcomed when you visited the South Carolina Oyotunji African village?
Oh, I mean, great reception. We had great reception. We were treated very, very well. The king was very receptive to us, and he encourages me to come back. So we had a conversation, and he was like, "Oh, you're welcome to come back anytime you want it. This is home."
Wow.
So and
that's superb. That's beautiful. Wow, that's lovely. And would you say that, well, clearly in the documentary, you can see that's what it was. Those who are outside of Africa tend to take more ownership of the culture than those that are in.
Well, I would say yes and no.
Yeah.
And the reason for the no is that there is more awareness now.
Okay.
At least, that awareness is starting, to grow more than before back home. But I mean, before, it was, things were heading the wrong direction, where people don't even want to name their kids, Yoruba names anymore, trying to, westernize everything and all of that. But I think, with the help of social media and this generation, kind of like propagating, the strength of owning, owning that
Absolutely.
African
Yes.
culture and, being African, displaying the pride, globally. I think people are now beginning to, want to feel
Realize,
connected and realize that, okay, yeah, I can be this and be proud,
yes,
so
definitely.
for that, so I think we're going in the right direction. For me, that's my own, thinking of that. But I always kind of feel when it comes to being prideful, like about the Yoruba spirituality. I think the diaspora are more, profoundly like proud to say I am Yoruba and I practice Oshun, whatever, and,
Yes.
and things like that. I kind of think this, that's the exit more than back home. The appreciation for the Yoruba deities and things like that might be more in the diaspora than it is back home.
But would you say is due to the fact of they're trying to hold on to what they felt they were taken out of?
Yes, exactly. Because we have to realize that we have two different situation here. We were home.
Yes.
Those of us that are in Africa, we're home. We were never taken out or uprooted, from home. Okay. But because we're home doesn't mean things were not taken away from us.
Yes. Yeah.
So a whole lot of our things were, deemed to be, evil, and not just religion, like almost our clothes, everything we do is being, reduced to, primitive and being deemed like, local. Which is still something that we still struggle with, not just in Yoruba land, but across the entire continent. So that is the experience for the Africans in Africa. So even though things were taken away from us, we didn't really realize that things were being taken away from us because it wasn't like we were forced to drop it. This thing was being sneaked
for other things.
Yes, into us. So mentally, some of people didn't catch that like that. Like, oh, this is what what was happening, or this happened to us. So that is why till today, sometimes when you're talking about the pride in Africa, there's still some people that will argue with you and say, oh no, we don't know anything. If not for the Europeans, we have been. There's still people that see kind of like have that kind of mentality. All human beings are important. That's not what I'm saying. And we all contributed to the development of the world in various ways. But to kind of like deem everything Africa local, that's a lack of knowledge. But for the African people in the diaspora, their own situation was different.
Yes.
They were the one taken away from home.
Yes.
They were the one, kind of like prevented from practicing or even bearing their name.
Yes.
We are the one choosing not to give our kids our native names.
Yes.
They were actually forced.
Strict. Didn't have a choice.
So let's put ourselves in that shoes as well. You will hold on to whatever you can hold on to and be proud of it.
Yes.
So we have two different experiences, and we have to always understand and acknowledge that.
That's well said. And how was your experience in Trinidad, Tobago, Brazil, Cuba? Were you welcomed? Like when they knew what you were doing, how was the welcoming?
Oh, the reception was great across the board. I get that question all the time. Like everywhere we've been, we've gone for screening. People do ask me, oh, okay, so like for example, like I remember when I was in Trinidad. We were invited for screening in Trinidad.
Yeah.
And after the screening, someone in the audience was actually like part of my crew.
Oh.
You know, a Trini lady. She was part of my crew, and you know, after the Q&A, and she was like, "Okay, I have one last question." So I'm like, "Okay, out of everywhere you went to, which country would you say you enjoyed the most?" I was like, "Oh, really? You're gonna put me on the first?" You know, here in Trinidad. Okay, you know, I enjoy.
You're gonna say Trinidad because you are in Trinidad.
You know, I enjoy everywhere. You know,
Yes.
you know, you have to understand that all these people that still hold on to the African culture and all that, they all have communities
Yes.
in all these countries.
Yes.
And you know, we were, you know, we have our research down and all that, but you know, knowing those communities and being able to talk to them
Yes.
was really, really, really very helpful in the course of production. So, you know, we were really well, you know, welcome. They treated us like we were back in Africa.
Wow, that's nice. For those who haven't visited Trinidad and Brazil and Cuba, you should go visit.
Yeah, you should. You should. You'll be proud.
Be proud.
You'll be proud. You know, you'll be proud to be Yoruba because you're going to see that culture, you know, everywhere.
Everywhere. Wow. Now, of course, the people that I know that have watched this documentary, and I believe I've spoken to you about it before, they kept questioning that. Why is it the title it is Bigger Than Africa? Why? You know? So please address these people.
Okay, you know, see